Hey, turns out the government, the DHS, leaked documents outlined DHS plan to police disinformation. So, wait, didn't they end this program when they got rid of that crazy TikTok lady they tried to put in charge of the disinformation? I hate to say it, but I'm afraid for our democracy. Behind closed doors and through pressure of private platforms, the United States government has used its power to try to shape online discourse. According to meeting minutes and other records, discussions have ranged from the scale and scope of government intervention in online discourse to the mechanics of streamlining takedown requests for false and intentionally misleading information. So I'm just going to let you know what this means. This is called fascism. This is called fascism. So I know that people like to throw that term around. That's what this is. This is the government and huge, giant corporations that control the flow of information in a democracy, and they're colluding together to suppress your First Amendment rights. That's called fascism. And I know you're going to hear that term a lot, but it's already happening. And by the way, when people say January 6th undermined our democracy, your democracy was stolen from you a long time ago. You are living in a corporatocracy. We had a coup d'etat, as Chris Hedges has said on this show. It happened in slow motion, and we live in a corporate dictatorship. The face of the dictator has been replaced by the nameless, faceless corporate state, and we now live in this totalitarian. They get to drug test you. Because the government is the corporation you're working for, because the corporations now control our government. They control our regulatory agencies. That's why we had all these COVID policies, not because they were run by science or by doctors, but because they were run by the biggest predatory corporations in the world. That's called Big Pharma, Pfizer and Moderna, and Johnson & Johnson. They're the biggest predatory corporations in the world, the kind of people who put asbestos in baby powder and get half the country hooked on heroin. That's what happened. So we're already living in it. And so this is we now found out how they suppressed any dissent from the corporate government combined narrative. It happened. This January 6th is a distraction for you, the dumb Democrat voter who doesn't realize we live in an oligarchy. That's not my opinion. That was proven by a Princeton study years ago. Your democracy has been stolen from you decades ago. This is just proving it. And they're doing this all at the behest of the military-industrial complex and big pharma and health insurance companies. That's the people, and Wall Street, the people who actually control this country. It's not Joe Biden. Joe Biden is president because Wall Street let him be president, just like Kamala Harris is vice president because she was their second choice, not because she gets votes.
Whose jokes for this?
Yeah, I think these.
Oh, yeah.
So Lee Fang did this article along with that Ken Klipperstein guy who passed all that fake info about ivermectin around. He's a corporate tool. They work for a billionaire at the Intercept. So the weird thing is the Intercept does this thing about how we're being suppressed by the fascist government working with big social media. But everybody at the Intercept is for that censorship that they're exposing. That's the weird thing. Now, I don't know about this Lee guy, but I certainly know Ken Klipperstein and almost Ryan Grant. Everybody at the Intercept is for censorship.
Yeah. Well,
so that's why this is weird. They're exposing that it's happening as if it's a scandal, but that's the thing that they're all for. So go ahead.
Jerks like you in your garage or whatever.
Right.
Let them dribble out little bits of the truth at a reasonable pace without amateurs getting in, causing disharmony.
The Intercept still can't tell you, by the way, the Intercept still can't tell you the truth about Syria or Russiagate, or they won't do it. So but I can easily outdo the Intercept's reporting, and I have, on Russiagate and Syria and all the things like that, the gas attacks, all that. I've outdone them. It's not hard. It's not hard. I don't work for a billionaire. But congratulations to Lee and the propaganda spreader Ken Klipperstein, who lied about COVID wants you to be mandated for vaccines and lied about ivermectin and early treatments. So Li Fang says docs show Facebook and Twitter closely collaborating with the Department of Homeland Security, FBI, to police disinformation. Plans to expand censorship on topics like withdrawal from Afghanistan, the origins of COVID, info that undermines trust in banks and financial institutions. Are you kidding me? What, Kurt?
Okay, so withdrawal from Afghanistan, they're keeping an eye on talking about that?
Yeah, they want to control the narrative, certainly, and they did. So how disinformation is defined by the government has not been clearly articulated. And the inherently subjective nature of what constitutes disinformation provides a broad opening for the Department of Homeland Security officials to make politically motivated determinations about what constitutes dangerous speech. So apparently, so this is what they're doing. So this is the stuff that they're policing now. The origins of COVID, our withdrawal from Afghanistan, anything that undermines the establishment. But hey, I thought, so Islamic terrorism is not a thing anymore, Kurt.
That's good news.
Remember how serious that was? Did the Islamic terrorists just give up or something? You know, the ones that we're working with in Syria? Did they just, oh, cool. Okay, well.
I can't wait for a reboot of 24 where Jack Bauer fights COVID disinformation. He's got 24 hours to censor this tweet.
That's funny. That's we should do that as a sketch. That's funny. How disinformation is defined by, so they don't even know how to define, they can't define what disinformation is or when they say it. So we have no info on what disinfo is. Better pour more money into this like it's Ukraine. So here's
a known unknown.
It is. So here's more from Lee. I think you pronounce his last name Fong, even though it's spelled Fang. FBI agent Laura Demlow was in communications with Facebook that led to the suppression of the Hunter Biden laptop story in 2020 over the false allegation that it was disinformation. This year, she met with Twitter Department of Homeland Security to stress we need a media infrastructure that is held accountable. Wow, it's good that the media is going to be held accountable for suppressing that story? I'm kidding. She was threatening to protect the powerful, not the people who suppressed that story. So here it is, by the way. Here it is. Pursuant to the third-party subpoena, Meta, that's Facebook, has identified the FBI's FITF as supervised by Laura Demlow, and Elvis Chan as involved in the communications between the FBI and Meta that led to Facebook's suppression of the Hunter Biden laptop story. And here's the CISA cybersecurity advisory. We need a media structure that is held accountable. We need early educate the populace, and that today critical thinking seems to be a problem.
Wait,
yes.
Wait. Is that the same as like the article that said don't critically think?
It sounds like it to me.
She, like there's not enough critical thinking.
And it sounds like they're upset that people are thinking critically.
Oh my!
But maybe it's the other thing that you say. And you remember when Joe Rogan actually again got no fucking journalist in the world got this guy to admit this. Joe Rogan got this guy to admit that they were working with the FBI to suppress Hunter Biden's laptop story. That this came directly from them. And now we know for sure. But here's what he said on Joe Biden. Remember this?
How do you guys handle things when they're a
Joe Rogan, not Joe Biden,
big news item that's controversial? Like there was a lot of attention on Twitter during the election because of the Hunter Biden laptop story. The New York Post.
Had that too.
Yeah, so you guys censored that as well?
So we took a different path than Twitter.
We censored it mostly, not all the way. So I could say something stupid like this and make it sound like we're not totally authoritarian censors, but we are.
And basically, the background here is the FBI.
The FBI told us.
Basically came to us.
They basically came to us and said, "Fucking censor that," and we did. Okay. So prior to the 2020 election, tech companies including Twitter, Facebook, Reddit, Discord, Wikipedia, Microsoft, LinkedIn. You should go read my Wikipedia page. It's a comedy of CIA talking points. It's unbelievable. LinkedIn and Verizon Media met on a monthly basis with the FBI, CISA, and other government representatives. According to the NBC News, the meetings were part of an initiative still ongoing between the private sector and government to discuss how firms would handle misinformation during the election, meaning how they would censor. That's what that means. And how government would tell the social media companies who to censor, how fast, when, why, and for what reasons. And then they would do it. Why? Because they don't want to be regulated by the government that they control fucking anyway.
If only we hadn't driven that TikTok singy lady off of, we could have at least laughed while she explained it through song to us.
I wish. So here's Facebook and Twitter created special portals for the government to rapidly request takedowns of content. The portals, along with NGO partners, means non-governmental organization partners, meaning these people, they look like charities, like the White Helmets.
Yeah.
But they're not. They're actually establishment bullshit, military-industrial complex funded motherfuckers who are pro-war and lying to you. So they have these people they think they're charities, and then they funnel the information to them, and then they're used to censor a wide range of content. You know, these people who say they're fact checkers on Facebook, they're all funded by the establishment, but they say they're not government. Oh, we're nonpartisan, non-government, but we just say who to censor on Facebook. And they're all liars because they're working for the people that we're actually exposing. So, including obvious parody accounts and content disagreeing with government pandemic policy. So the government could go right to this special portal, tell Facebook, take this motherfucker down right away. And they did that to us a couple times. Here, Li Feng, or Fong, this is great. He says the emails and documents show close collaboration by the Department of Homeland Security and the private sector. Twitter's VJ Jet, remember her? Yeah. She was on with Joe Rogan, and I caught her lying a couple times. Yeah. And so Elon Musk fired her immediately. And they met monthly with the Department of Homeland Security to discuss censorship plans. I don't remember her disclosing that when she went on Joe Rogan. You don't remember her?
Oh, I remember. She said harm reduction.
That's is that what it is? Yeah. Oh, okay. To discuss censorship plans. They met on a frickin' monthly basis. Microsoft executive texted the Department of Homeland Security, quote, platforms have got to get comfortable with government.
Wow. Government's
going to come in and tell the social media who to censor and who to... That's, again, get comfy. That's a big constitutional violation. This should be a scandal, except all the media is owned by the people who want to do this. And it's even the magazine I don't know, what do you call it? The news outlet, all the people there approve of this. All the people at the Intercept approve of fucking censorship. That's why it's wild that this is being reported in that.
Can I quote a great band? What's his name? Velshi from CNN?
Yes.
He said, the point I think that gets lost here in this discussion is it's not the government, it's a corporation doing it, so it's okay.
So it's okay.
He just said that.
Yeah.
And by the way, it is the government with the goddamn corporation.
That's right, which is called fascism.
Yeah.
How does the Department of Homeland Security justify its evolving mission from countering foreign terror groups to policing domestic disinformation on social media? That's what they were supposed to do, keep us safe from terrorism, and now they're fucking perusing. Now they're the policemen on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram and YouTube. Yes. So when I'm talking about when we get attacked on YouTube, that you don't think the CIA, the FBI, the intelligence community is 100% embedded in YouTube, just like they're embedded in every newsroom in this country? Of course they are.
I can't believe that the Islamic radical terrorism just totally stopped.
Just totally went away.
That's amazing.
So they needed you to be afraid of fundamental Islamic terrorism so they could fund the military-industrial complex war against them. Yeah. Now they have Ukraine. They don't care about them anymore.
I heard of that.
They're actually fighting with us in Syria. Yeah, so that's why we love them now, and we're funding them. So earlier this year, the Department of Homeland Security launched a widely panned disinformation governance board, which it later shuttered following criticism. But the same agenda still lives on with the Department of Homeland Security sub-agency called CISA, which argues disinformation as a threat to American critical infrastructure.
What?
Department of Homeland Security Quad Review, which plans agency policy leaked to us, shows growing focus on MDM, which stands for misinformation, disinformation, malinformation, to protect Homeland against the spread of toxic narratives. That sounds like dictators. That's what dictators always say, that we're saving you from toxic narratives from our enemies, and that's why we censor.
Toxic narratives like so the guy with the hammer in the bus is a big Jimmy Dore guy.
Yeah,
that kind of
toxic narratives. How the agency defines false info and what narratives are prioritized isn't clear.
Nor should it be.
Pre-decisional, deliberative, unclassified while mitigating the harmful impacts of MDM on Homeland Security, the Department of Homeland Security must be proactive and timely in transmitting factual information about our operations, especially in a disaster. So this is all bullshit.
We need to be timely in transmitting factual information about our operation. I mean, we may have to take 66 years in many cases to come out and be factual about our actual operations.
So what they're saying is the government is going to protect you from liars. The government, politicians are going to protect you from liars. Chris Christie's going to protect you from the buffet.
Well, he would. I mean, technically, he would.
Maybe he probably would because he won all the.
Like a secret.
But it
Service
still
agent.
works. You get my point. Our government produces lies and disinformation at industrial scale and always has. It overclassifies vital information to block its own citizens from becoming any the wiser. It pays thousands of press aides to play hide the salami with the facts.
That's a good campaign ad. He plays hide the salami with facts.
The Department of Homeland Security official working on disinformation noted during an internal strategy discussion that the agency should use third-party nonprofits as a clearinghouse for information to avoid the appearance of government propaganda. So that's like when you see fact check, all those people who claim they're fact, all those they're all working for the establishment and the government, so you don't know it. Isn't that amazing? And they call other people conspiracy theories as they're instituting the biggest conspiracies in the world.
I just love these black bars of redacted on every single thing you ever see.
They suggested designating multiple voices as the clearing hour so there is not one trusted voice. So this is all it. Okay. And so now I love that. I saw a couple of reactions to this. I love money laundering facts and science and truth. This is a great time to be mentally stable. So that's what they're doing. They're money laundering facts, science, and truth. That's what this is about. Oh, down here, the details of this get worse and worse the more you look at them. Yes.
That's why you can't go down.
This is your biggest nightmare you could imagine as far as free speech, liberty, thoughts, the amount, information flow, anything, dissent, criticizing. This is the worst thing you could think of. It's actually happening. No one gives a shit because they're all for it, because the media is owned by the people who are doing this, and they say vote Democrat, and they do. Remember this? This was from how they did the election to get rid of Trump and put in Biden. This was in Time magazine. A well-funded cabal of powerful people ranging across industries and ideologies working together behind the scenes to influence perceptions, change rules and laws, steer media coverage, and control the flow of information. That's how they won the election. They bragged about it in Time magazine. That's called a conspiracy. That's what that's called. An unbelievably huge, large conspiracy. That's what that is.
Who wrote that, I wonder?
I forget who wrote that, but it was in Time magazine. During the 2020 election, the Department of Homeland Security, in an email to an official at Twitter, forwarded information about a potential threat to critical U.S. infrastructure, citing FBI warnings, in this case about an account that could imperil election system integrity. Really? Well, the Twitter user in question had 56 followers, along with a bio that read, "DM us your weed store locations. Hoes be mad, but this is a parody account." Under a banner image of Blucifer, the 32-foot tall demonic horse sculpture featured at the entrance of the Denver International Airport. So that they were sending, the DHS was saying, hey, take this account down. This obvious bullshit account. This is what your tax dollars are going towards. We are not sure if there was any action that can be taken, but we wanted to flag them for consideration. Wrote a state official on the email thread, forwarding on other examples of accounts that could be confused with official government entities. The Twitter representative responded, "We will escalate."
What are they, Carlo Gambino? The guy who just nod and not say do it?
Each email in the chain carried a disclaimer that the agency neither has nor seeks the ability to remove or edit what information is made available on social media platforms. So why would each email contain that? So they know when people like us get a hold of it, they can point to that and say, look, that's exactly what that is, even while they're doing the exact thing that they say they don't have the authority to do.
Well, they know they can count on the repulsive punks that work at those companies to go, oh, well, let me do whatever you need.
Well, the way they say it, it's an attempt to run around the First Amendment by exerting continual pressure on private sector social media firms. When the government suggests things, it's not too hard to pull off the velvet glove, and you get the male fist, said Adam, whatever his name is, a professor of law at Michigan State University. And I would consider such actions, especially when it's bureaucratized, as essentially state action and government collusion with the platforms. As I said earlier, fascism. If a foreign authoritarian government sent these messages, noted Nadine Strassman, the former president of the ACLU, there is no doubt we would call it censorship. So if they were doing this in other countries, we would be calling this censorship. Or if other countries were calling for social media to do this, we would call it censorship. So that's a great, so this, the worst things you can imagine are happening. Always keep in mind that the biggest liars and purveyors of misinformation, disinformation, and malinformation is the government, the State Department, the military-industrial complex, corporate media, and then way down the list are people on YouTube and social media. Just keep that in mind. See you in Denver, Palm Springs, Austin, Texas, and Burbank, California after Thanksgiving. Plus, we're going to be doing a lot of shows in December in Studio City. Go to jimmydorcomedy.com for a link for all the tickets.